It's funny to think that in just a couple of years, we're going to be celebrating 100 years of the Walt Disney Company. Because as we all know, the 23 in D23 stands for 1923, the year that what we now call the Walt Disney Company was founded. Here's Walt in 1923. And I'm sure there's all kinds of plans for a big celebration of that big anniversary. But today I thought we would take a look back at 1973, which was the 50th anniversary of Disney. That year, there was a big celebration, a year-long celebration, called 50 Happy Years. There are some interesting artifacts that came out of that. I thought we would take a look. The actual anniversary is on October 16th, but rather than just celebrate it on that day in 1973, it was decided that the entire calendar year of 1973 would be the 50 Happy Years celebration. One of the first things that needed to be done is there had to be a logo. And so as we can see on this press release, this really cool logo, very 70s, sort of based on the ubiquitous smiley face that was so popular in the 60s and 70s. This was designed by Disney legend Bob Moore and also Norm Nocedi. And what it says here is, Walt Disney Productions celebrates 50 happy years of family entertainment. That logo was used on all kinds of merchandise and was incorporated into all sorts of things that year, including a special trailer that was used on all theatrical releases in 1973. One of the biggest events of the year was in January, the very start of the year, when The Wonderful World of Disney presented a special episode entitled 50 Happy Years, What Else? That show, which aired on January 21st, ranked 5th in the ratings that week and was the most popular episode of The Wonderful World of Disney that aired that year. As I mentioned, that 50 Happy Years logo was seen on all kinds of merchandise. For example, here we have Chip and Dale from 1973, and down here, what do we see? 50 Happy Years. But it's kind of interesting because unfortunately, there was nothing really special done in any of the Disney comic books to celebrate. No special stories or particularly special reprints. But the comic book publication that did celebrate 50 Happy Years in a special way was Walt Disney Comics Digest. Here is the issue from January, and we can see it says Special Edition Through the Years with Mickey. So this was very special because these comic book stories that are inside had not been reprinted since their original publication in 1942, 1950, and 1958. These were all the serialized stories that had been presented in Disney's flagship comic book, which of course is Walt Disney's Comics and Stories. So first we have Mickey Mouse at the Bar None Ranch, which was drawn by Floyd Gottfredson, taken from the newspaper comic strip. Then we have Monarch of Mediocre, which is also from the Floyd Gottfredson comic strip, but was redrawn by Bill Wright. And then an all-new original serial, which is what they went to in the 1950s, usually written by Carl Fahlberg, almost always drawn by the great Paul Murray. And really, Floyd Gottfredson's work in particular had not been seen in a long time. So this was actually a big deal because people were just starting to discover who Floyd Gottfredson was. And his best work was represented in this Comics Digest edition because The Bar None Ranch is one of his best stories, best written, best drawn. Now, Comics Digest wasn't presenting new material, but it was presenting the special material that had not been republished. So here we have Goofy and his Goof Cart, obviously focusing in on the Disney stars to celebrate 50 Happy Years. So this was a really fun special edition story that was originally published in the Goofy comic book. And of course, the 50 Happy Years logo is right there, as it is on this edition, which is one of the most fun. Rip-Roaring River Adventures Showboat, starring your Disney favorites. The Showboat giant comic was really a very fun story. with Uncle Scrooge as the captain and Daisy as the showgirl, and just a lot of fun. Here's the Three Little Pigs story, drawn by Paul Murray. They were really striving to find special material. Here's another Disney star, Pluto. Pluto joins the circus. Again, art by the great Paul Murray, and Pluto's adventures where, just as it says, Mickey's dog joined the circus. At the end of the year, Donald Duck, and this, of course, was quite remarkable because Donald Duck is the superstar of Disney Comics, and these were all drawn by the great Carl Barks, that Disney legend. And again, these stories had not been republished since they were originally issued in the 40s and 50s. We have the very first Donald Duck full-length story, Donald Duck and the Mummy's Ring. Barks, of course, excelled at these great adventure stories that were book length. They were graphic novels before anyone called them graphic novels. Another one, Luck of the North, one of his best. Another terrific adventure, Donald Duck in Ancient Persia. Again, just a wild adventure. So beautifully drawn, and the storytelling just out of this world. And finally, one of Uncle Scrooge's earliest appearances, Donald Duck and the Pixelated Parrot. Again, the storytelling is just amazing. But again, this was the period when fans were discovering who Carl Barks was and his name. And it was very exciting to have these stories republished. Suddenly here they were, who had seen them in decades, but here they were. Now it's commonplace. Carl Barks has been published in hardcover volumes, art books, many times over now. It really was a special big deal for 50 Happy Years. And to top things off, we have Robin Hood, which was sort of the grand climax of the entire 50 Happy Years celebration, because here was a brand new Disney animated feature, and it was released at the end of the year, around Thanksgiving for a holiday time, was screened as the main attraction at Radio City Music Hall's famed Christmas celebration. Anytime a Disney animated feature was released, especially in those days, it was a very big deal. So that sort of tapped off the 50 Happy Years celebration. There was one more that year, Walt Disney Comics Digest, 50 Happy Years, Mary Poppins. And the reason for this is that the centerpiece of the entire 50 Happy Years celebration was the reissue of Mary Poppins, the first time since its original release in 1964. Disney had many requests from audiences to have Mary Poppins re-released so that everyone could see it again. Of course, it was Disney's biggest hit up until that time. And it's not like today, when there's Blu-rays, DVDs, streaming. You can really see Mary Poppins anytime you want. In 1973, you had to wait till it came back to the theaters, so it was a huge, big deal. Now, you might recall that I mentioned in my video about Mary Poppins that the original soundtrack album was reissued with a new cover to celebrate the re-release of the film as this huge, big deal. And I also showed this complete musical score, which also was re-released in 1973 with a new design and featuring the 50 Happy Years logo. Mary Poppins was released in the summer, and it also played Radio City Music Hall, which was the first reissue to ever play that theater. In addition, the stage show, because there was always a stage show at the Radio City Music Hall, was a Disney-themed show celebrating, you guessed it, 50 Happy Years. So it was an entire Disney show at the Radio City Music Hall. So that too was an extraordinary happening during this year-long celebration. One of the most significant elements of the year-long celebration for Disney's golden anniversary was this incredible 2-record set called 50 Happy Years of Disney Favorites. There really never had been before such a deluxe set. There had been compilations before this, and there would be afterwards, but nothing quite as deluxe as this. As it says, 2 records plus an 11-page book of full-color illustrations. So first of all, this does open up, and we have this wraparound cover with this incredible parade of Disney characters. That in itself was pretty special. And inside, as it mentioned, first there's this great introduction, 1923, 1973, Mickey and Minnie, very nostalgic, and nostalgia was all the craze in the 70s, which is another reason I think that they did this celebration, is to tie in with all that nostalgia. But at any rate, we have all these great illustrations, which were pretty much picked up from the Storyteller albums and other art that had been created for the record albums. And for each of the films mentioned, there's a little bit of information. So let's take Cinderella for an example. It lists the songs that are on this album. Released in 1950, Academy Awards nominee because Cinderella was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, Best Score and Best Song, Bippity Boppity Boo. But then it also lists some of the awards that Cinderella was given, such as Parents Magazine Medal Award, Box Office Blue Ribbon Award, the Venice Film Festival Special Prize, Berlin Film Festival First Prize Award. Pretty impressive. Did you know that Cinderella had won all those awards? So as a matter of fact, we have this little introduction, which kind of explains what this album is all about. Pianist Mickey Mouse entertains Minnie Mouse with some of the award-winning tunes from Walt Disney classic motion pictures and cartoon features. Since 1923, the artistry, music, and magic of Walt Disney theatrical releases and television productions have provided wholesome entertainment for the entire family. Walt Disney's dedication to quality and excellence in entertainment is acknowledged the world over in the form of numerous awards and honors. Some of these awards are listed on the following pages and serve as testimony to these 50 happy years. So this, again, is quite extraordinary. And the songs really cover the gamut, because the first is Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf, which was, of course, Disney's first hit song in 1933, all the way through Bedknobs and Broomsticks with its Academy Award nominated The Age of Not Believing. That had just been released in 1971, and here we are in 1973. Interestingly, a songbook was also released with the same art called 50 Happy Years, 50 Happy Songs. So there are a few more songs in the songbook than on this album. This album also served to both introduce and remind people of the great selection of songs that have been released over the years in Disney productions. So thank you for joining me today, and please remember to like and subscribe, and definitely come back again, because as we're entering the time of Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and all the wonderful holidays, we're going to be having some very special videos coming up. So please join me for all of that, and I'll see you soon.